Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am shooketh. This past weekend was RenegadeCon, which is like Renegade Game Studios' big brouhaha on the internet where they tell you all about their upcoming projects and try to get you excited about them and try to get you to buy them. Now, I don't normally care about these sorts of things, but there was a prophesized Heroscape panel. If you come to me from like Dungeon World and you don't know what Heroscape is, it's kind of like Warhammer, but accessible. It's been dead for 13 years. Last year, Hasbro tried to revive it. It was a complete disaster. And then this new company called Renegade Game Studios bought the license. They're bringing it back. Anyways, Renegade announced that they were going to do a Heroscape Meet the Team thing at RenegadeCon this year. Basically, they were just going to introduce the community to the team that is working on Heroscape, or at least some of the major players. Now, to some people, this is exciting, but I have a confession to make. I'm a filthy casual. I don't care. I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know of like any major designers in the space. The only name that carries any sort of weight to me is Craig Van Ness. And Chris Nadeau, because he's my best friend. But my buddy Ryan, who runs Tales of Valhalla, hit me up and he was like, hey, do you want to come on this panel where we react to the Meet the Team panel? And I'm like, sure. I don't care who's on the team, but I will go for the vibes. And the start of the panel went exactly as you would expect a PR panel like this to go. We got introduced to 5 people on the team. But of course, if you read the title of this video and heard the intro, then I'm not here to talk about the people who made this game, because it turns out there was a bit of a plot twist to this Meet the Team panel. We got actual news.
Oh my God.
The first bit of actual news that I found to be really interesting is that the design team is actually working on Age of Annihilation. Now, I was a little confused when I first heard this and they're talking about how they're going in and reworking the units and, you know, doing all this design, whatever, because I was like, wait a minute, Age of Annihilation is like basically finished. They just need to like print it, right? Like, why are you going in and doing all this? Isn't the work already done? But I guess they're going back, they're looking at all of the old units, they're making sure everything's backwards compatible, they're doing little tweaks and redesigns, whatever. Now, in super exciting news for the Sweatlords out there, the game will launch with organized community play in local game stores. I don't exactly know what this means in terms of like practicality, but Renegade seems very adamant that this is a core part of their identity and what they want Heroscape to be like. However, having said that, they said frequently during the panel that they are designing this game for the casual consumer. The casual consumer is like 90% of your audience. But I do think it's pretty cool that they do want to have support for that competitive play in an organized fashion. Now, there was additional good news, but I want to tell you some bad news, at least what some people think is bad news, coming out of the panel. The first bit of bad news is that there aren't going to be any new historical units anytime soon. They're currently focusing on just finishing Age of Annihilation and getting that out the door, and those, you know, kind of carrying over those designs from Avalon Hill before they start thinking about anything new. So it might be a while before we get historical units. Some people viewed this as an absolute travesty, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm someone who plays primarily historical units. Einar gang, what up? Is it a little disappointing? Sure, but I'm still in the process of collecting all of the OG units from the first release. So, you know, I have that to look forward to. Huffing the copium. Speaking of collecting the OG release, the second bit of news that is going to make the community kind of mad is that there is going to be no reprint of the original release. Now, I could make an entire video on this, and I might, honestly, because people thinking that they can do this is absolutely insane. The community has been 3D printing some of the original release units, but as some of my friends in the Heroscape community tell me, the quality of the minis is terrible. And then you also have to factor in that they're doing that on kind of a made-to-order basis, not an industrial scale. Does it kind of suck? Sure, but you're kind of fucking high if you thought that this was ever going to be on the table to begin with. Be realistic here. Speaking of being high and realistic, the classic Heroscape question was asked, will the new minis be painted? And they gave a very shitty answer of, we're looking into it. Now, I think we're looking into it just means a flat out no, but they don't want to inflame the community yet, but whatever. There's a chance. I don't think there's actually a chance, but there's a chance. Anyways, let's go back to good news. The team said during the panel that accessibility is going to be a major factor in the release. As anyone who was around for the Age of Annihilation campaign, accessibility wasn't really a factor in that. It was $250 flat for the Age of Annihilation Master Set, and that was it. There were no tiers. We've had this conversation a million times. Now, as we all know, this isn't being Kickstarted or anything. It is going to come out. So all the people who are like, if this even comes out, bro, it's coming out. Like, they've announced multiple times it's coming out, but we'll talk about that later. Anyways, it is being broken up into more accessible standpoints. The first of which that they confirmed on stream is that there are going to be 3 terrain packs, presumably at launch. That is, of course, in addition to the Master Set, which we could probably assume the Master Set's still going to be $250. The terrain packs are probably going to be cheaper. They also hinted at other options that are more accessible, but they're probably just like playing around with that, looking around at that. You know what I mean? Now, the second or third or whatever bit of good news that is definitely going to excite some of the very hardcore people in the community is that Craig Van Ness, the godfather of the game himself, has been in contact with the Renegade team. To what capacity, we don't really know, but he has sort of given the team his blessing. For those of you out of the loop, Craig Van Ness is the OG designer of Heroscape. The game is like his child. He is involved with the project. They are in touch with them, so hooray. But the last bit of just absolutely massive news, honestly, this is probably the biggest bit of news out of all the news that was announced, is that there is going to be somewhat public playtesting. Now, when I say somewhat public, I mean you have to apply for it, but anyone can apply to be a playtester. And they want to make sure that you are very serious about playtesting, which is why I'm not applying to be a playtester, because playtesting honestly sounds miserable. They're looking for people who are going to put this game through the ringer. If you want to apply to be a playtester just so that you can, get the breaking news and, make YouTube videos about it and tell the world, then you probably shouldn't apply. So I'm not applying, sorry. But Renegade, if you're watching, you should hook me up, bro. I live like 30 minutes south of y'all, so. Overall, though, my impression of the panel was that Renegade is kind of handling this the exact opposite way that Avalon Hill is. Last year, Avalon Hill got us all super hype and thinking that like Heroscape is inevitable, like it's gonna be on our shelves right now. And then they did the whole like bait and switch. Oh, it turns out it's a Kickstarter campaign and the goals are kind of insane. Whereas Renegade is coming at this with a much more, I hate this word, conservative sort of outlook. They're really laying down the groundwork. You know what I mean? They're not revealing anything massive before it's confirmed. They're being very careful with the release. I think they learned a lot from the HasLab campaign last year. I hope. Anyway, I still have a really good feeling about it. I am very optimistic about the return of Heroscape. It's coming back. There's no Kickstarter or anything. Like, we're getting at least one release. Whether we'll get multiple releases after that, expansions, whatever, kind of up to sales, but it is, gonna be here. And so that's a reason to be excited. And I think that it's in good hands with Renegade. Anyways, the next bit of news that we're probably gonna get from the team is gonna be Q1 of 2024. That is when Renegade's next big brouhaha PR thing is, and they said that's when they're gonna release more details. It has been confirmed multiple times that this will launch in 2024. My initial expectation was probably like holiday time 2024. Maybe it'll be around Gen Con, who knows? I certainly don't. But I appreciate you for sticking with me through all this. And if you're not caught up on anything Heroscape, you should click right here and just watch every single video in the playlist. And thank you so much for watching.